Hello, it's Steve here again from the Studio One Soapbox. In today's video, we want to talk about de-essing. In the last blog, I did a little series about ideas of the mix to do with vocals, and I was asked if I would like to elaborate a wee bit more when it comes to de-essing. So here we go. This is everything to do with de-essing. Now, what is de-essing? Simply, it is a vocalist who, for whatever reason, wrong choice of mic, compression, EQ moves, the room that they're in, so many different factors, and it's all to do with sibilants. It's the S and the sh and the t. Those kind of noises whenever you're listening back to the vocal and they're really pushing through and very prominent. So in this little example, what we have here is something a little more extreme. With this example, we have a male and a female vocalist both singing on the exact same mic and singing the exact same part. So this is what we're going to work on. Let me play you back some.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey boss, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant.
Okay, so you get the idea. Lots of S's, constant, lots of that going on. And so that can become more prominent. This is a raw track. There is no processing on it apart from some EQ, some compression on the way in. But really when it comes to mixing, we're more likely going to add a compressor to this, and that can push forward those sibilant noises such as S and T sounds. So what is the first step we think of? We normally just load up a de-esser, such as this one here. So let's put that on. I will solo out the vocal and let's hear what this is going to do to the S's. So we'll start with it off and I'll bring it in halfway. Here we go.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated.
De-Esser on.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant
now let's change it to a bandpass.
Complete deceit, or how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest.
Let's take it off.
Content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest.
So you get the idea. I do apologize for this because when you're doing de-essing and you've looped a bit of vocal, it can get very annoying. So we'll try to keep it at a minimum as possible without annoying everybody listening to this. So basically what we have here on the Renaissance De-Esser is we're using split mode. Split mode is really just a filter which filters the lows from the highs, because usually the S sounds are round about sort of 3 to 10k, sometimes a bit lower, sometimes a little higher than that, depends on the singer and the situation and the equipment used. In this case, I pre-found this just to speed things up in the video, that around 8 kilohertz thereabouts is where most of the S's are coming through. And with the Renaissance De-Esser, you can hit this little side chain. Bit confusing really, because it's not so much the side chain, it's an internal type of side chain, but it just lets you solo out the S's. So this is what the de-esser is actually compressing. Wait till you hear this. We can change the type and go for a bandpass. And basically all you do is try and find which type of pass works better, which type of filtering works better. Or either we use a high pass filter or we use a bandpass filter here, which is really a high pass and low pass around about the 8K, which gives us this little arch, and that is a little notch in the overall frequencies of this vocal, and we're taking about -6 dB every time an S or a T sound is poking its head through. So let's take that off. Just one more go with this De-Esser.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated.
Take
Hey
it off.
man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you.
Back
Hey
in.
bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together. Guess yours wasn't.
And you can see it dipping whenever an S sound is heard. It works reasonably well, but the thing with all De-Essers is they don't just grab those S frequencies. Unfortunately, they grab other frequencies slightly to the left and to the right and pull those down as well. And so if you De-ess with these De-Essers too much, or you use an outboard De-Esser, you can have the same problem where it doesn't sound natural. You can hear the sound of the De-Esser, and we don't want that either, because that's counterproductive to what we're actually trying to do. So let's turn that one on. Let's try a different De-Esser, see how we get on. This is a very popular one by Waves. And just a basic De-Esser. You tune in on your frequency, you pull down your threshold, and you want to crush it by about -6 or thereabouts. Let's try this one. We'll start with it off and then I'll bring it in.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated.
Bring it in.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest.
Take it off.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated.
Back in.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words.
And again on this one, we have a sidechain feature, which is really just soloing out what the De-Esser is hearing and what it is compressing. So if I click here on the sidechain, we hear this. Okay, and basically what we're trying to do with a De-Esser is we usually find either the high pass or the band pass works best. It's just a case of choosing. You choose that, you have a listen, see if you're catching those S's. If not, try a bandpass filter and just see what suits. The split, basically, that is the frequencies split in two. So the low frequencies are split from the high frequencies. When we go too wide, that just takes the whole overall spectrum and pulls everything down. Now, that can be worse because it can pull down even more frequencies than what we're trying to hit here when we're just trying to target the S sounds, the T sounds, and the sibilants in general. So, as you can see, I'll go on to one more here, just out of interest. Here's the Fabfilter One. A lot of people rant and rave about it. A little bit more complicated looking at it, but it basically works the exact same way. So, let's go try this one.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated.
Bring it in.
Hey man, precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together.
And you can see from the little graph that every time it pulls down on an S, it lights up in green. And it's there to try and help you target the S's and nothing else. And so you can move around these sliders, threshold and range, go for your wideband or your split band, and you can listen in to what the De-Esser is doing. And also we have a look ahead feature here as well, which kind of prepares the De-Esser before that S sounds in milliseconds, and gets the de-esser at its peak, ready to rock and roll, and pull that S down before the actual S hits the de-esser, if that makes any sense. So let's play this a little bit again.
Constant content, fierce and resent.
You can see it hitting the S's here in the little graph.
Cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey boss, see now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather fate to flock together.
Take it off.
Was a nasty nest. Constant content, fierce and resent. Complete deceit. Oh how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey boss, see now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather.
Okay, now we get the idea of that. It can get extremely annoying. I again apologize for the video. So the funny thing about Studio One is technically it doesn't come shipped with a de-esser, but there are ways around that, and I think that's why they didn't provide one. Although I think, in fairness, providing even a basic de-esser, much like the Waves one, let's pull this up, where you just simply have a threshold to pull down, and you can search through the frequencies and do a bandpass or a high pass filter. Just something simple like this would have been great to be thrown in the package, but we can't complain too much because we already get a lot provided by PreSonus in the accent program that is Studio One. So what you can do is you can throw on the multiband compressor, and if I just activate this, and what I've done here is I have bypassed all the low bands and just went for the top band, rolled it up to 8 kilohertz. There it is. Roll that up to about 8. And we're trying to pull this down by about -6 and just try and hit the S's as we go. So let's try and use the multiband as a de-esser. Here we go.
Constant content, fierce and resent. Complete deceit. Oh how you cheated.
Let's take it off.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey boss, see now
Back in.
we at a loss for words. Birds of feather fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant content, fierce and resent. Complete deceit. Oh how you cheated.
Back off.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you.
Now again, what you can notice there is it's really grabbing a lot of other frequencies because a multiband compressor isn't really specifically made to do de-essing. Although with a lot more time spent on this, you could hone in a bit more, maybe on those S's, and get a bit better result than what I have here. I just threw this up rather quickly just to show you for an example. Another way of de-essing within Studio One is to simply use an EQ move. So what do we say? Let's get that back to the start, and let's play this again. I'll turn this on, turn that off a little second. Now let's play this back, and if we watch on the spectral graph, we'll actually be able to see the S's and the sibilants. So here we go.
Constant content, fierce and resent. Complete deceit. Oh how you cheated.
If you look out for the S's and listen for them, you can see they're heading around this band here. Let's watch.
We at a loss for words. Birds of feather fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant content, fierce and resent. Complete deceit. Oh how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey boss, see now.
So you can see that they really are around 8K. So when you're working with de-essing, it's usually -5 to -6 dB that you need to reduce things to get that S or that T sound under control, so that it sounds not so much in your face, but still natural enough where you don't really notice that there is a de-esser on. And that's really what we're looking for here. We want to de-ess, but we want to do it without people knowing that we're actually de-essing, if that makes any sense. So what you can do with an EQ, now this isn't a dynamic EQ, as you know, this is just an ordinary proportional EQ. So what we could do is turn that on. We found out it's at 8K, so we've set it just slightly over. I've reduced by -6. Let me move that up a little. There we go. And I've done a super high Q24 we're at actually, and it's a notch EQ to try and knock out the S sounds. So I'll start with it off and let's see how well it does, just trying to EQ the S sounds and bring them under control.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, oh how you cheated.
EQ on.
Amen, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, oh how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a lot.
So as you can see, it's very good using the spectral graph on the Pro EQ, because if you watch out around the upper frequencies, whenever that S sounds, and we can see that little thing popping its head up around 8K. So we know we can do a little notch there and see if we can bring them under control that way. And -6 again, dB, just trying to reduce those down. And we can mess around with that too and see if we can get a decent result. It may or it may not work. You know, de-essers are built to de-ess specifically, whereas the multiband compressor and the Pro EQ aren't de-essers. But, you know, you can use things like this to try and deal with the problem. So with that in mind, if we go to something that actually is made where you could use it as specifically as a de-esser, is the wonderful AE4000 McDSP Active EQ. So it's kind of EQing but also compressing at the same time, and things can sound a bit more natural than just compressing something or just EQing something. It's like taking the best of both worlds, jamming them together into one plugin, and it can be very effective. So here we have the frequency set again around 8.1. I've set a Q of 12.8. I've reduced the gain down of -6 as we need it. And let's see how this does. I'll start with it off and then I'll bring it in.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, oh how you cheated.
Bring it in.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words. Birds of feather fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, oh.
And that's just what it hears.
At a loss for words. Birds of feather fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest. Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, oh how you cheated.
Turn it off.
Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy, now we at a loss for words.
Back on.
Birds of feather fate to flock together. Guess yours was a nasty nest.
So again, it works very effectively as a de-esser, more so than just trying to go for an EQ move, which we had done here, or trying to hone in with the multi-band dynamics, as we had done here in the upper frequencies. And obviously using all these de-essers, oh sorry, that's just the Soapbox. Using all these different de-essers all do a reasonably good job of getting rid of all the sibilants. But one thing every single one of these things has in common is that they grab other frequencies outside of where we're trying to target, and so can take away something from the vocal which we don't want taken away. So my preference and the method that I adopt, if I just take that off and we go here, is to do it manually. Now there's two ways of doing it manually. You can use automation, where basically we can have an automate the volume, And every time the S comes along, we could draw in a -6 dB of volume reduction. So it just dips as that S sounds. But then if you have that on the automation thing, when you want to do other automation on the vocal, which is more likely what you will be doing, it can get a little bit in the road and it looks a little bit untidy and can become a little bit confusing when you already have automation and you're trying to override some newer automation. So I don't particularly like to do it that way. What I like to do is just hone in and use our clip gain reduction and do it that way. So if I zoom in a little here and try and find out where the S's are. So let's see. Let's play this and I'll try and find out where an S is and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Constant content, fierce and resent.
So we have at the start here, we have constant. So what I'm going to do is draw in just around that one word. I do apologize, this will get rather annoying as it plays over and over. But just so that I can zoom in and try and pick out that S sound. So here we go.
Constant, 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 constant.
Let me take that off a little second.
Constant content, fierce. Constant.
So constant. Let's get in there. And if I double click here, let's take off our snap to grid. Double click here, double click here to split the audio, click on here, and if I pull this down by -6 dB, as we can see in the little graph, there's 5.5 and 6. Now, let's put the loop on, and let's hear what that sounds like.
Constant, 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 constant content, fierce and resent.
Let's zoom back out.
And complete. Constant, 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 content, fierce and resent.
So we have fierce there. So if we zoom in,
fierce and resent. Fierce and
again, there's another one. Let's double click there. Double click there, and we'll pull that down again by -5 to -6 dB. Zoom out again. Let's play that and see what that sounds like.
Constant content, fierce and resent, complete deceit, or how you cheated. Hey man, and it precious to you in this love deserted words around you. Hey bossy now.
So if we go to 15, pull that up, and listen to that little section.
Bossy now, we at a loss for words.
So,
bossy now, we at a loss for words.
At the start there, very much in the S, that looks like it there. As you can see, the S's and the T's, these sibilants are always very prominent. So again, if I pull that down, 5 to 6 dB. Zoom out. Play that.
Around you, hey bossy now, we at a loss for words. Birds of feather.
Birds of feather. That's a little annoying as well. Again, as you can see, as we zoom in, here's the S here. Let's double click each side and cut that. And we'll bring that down, -5 to -6 dB. Let's zoom back out. And let's listen to that.
Hey bossy now, we at a loss for words. Birds of feather, fate to flock together.
So as you can see, doing it manually, very painstaking, very lengthy, a very long process, but the difference is this, between using a de-esser and doing this manually, where you're hunting down those S's, as you can see here, if I pull this over, they are quite prominent. They really do show themselves up. And if we bring those down, -5 to -6 dB, that really seems to do the job when it comes to trying to get rid of the sibilance. Here again, you can see how thick this S is in amongst the audio. And we can just again cut each side of it and pull that little section down by -5 to -6 dB. Now, you're asking, why on earth would I want to do all of that hard work going through a full vocal of a 3 to 5 minute song and seeking out the S sounds, T sounds, and reduce them manually? The reason being is it's far more natural. It sounds more natural on the ear because a de-esser, an active EQ, or just trying to EQ yourself, or using any other sort of outboard gear, an outboard de-esser, and you're trying to deal with the sibilance, this is the easiest way to do it. In fact, that's not actually an accurate statement. The easiest way to do it is having a professional singer on the correct mic who knows how to control their sibilance, their consonants and their vowels, and can dramatically reduce that before it even gets into your DAW. But there's always be little things that need fixed. So my personal preference is to do it manually. As I say, for the reasons that, one, it sounds more natural. You can't hear any de-essing going on. Also, it means that I can add a compressor onto the main vocal. I can automate the main vocal now, and those S's won't be being made more prominent by adding any more compression later on this vocal. As you know, we're bound to add a compressor or two in some cases to get this vocal sitting on top of the mix. And by the time we add EQ and compression, the sibilance can be taking our ears off. So if we deal with it at the source and we seek through this, as you can see, I mean, it will take a reasonably quite a long time to do this, but it's well worth it. That's my own personal opinion. If you want to slap on a de-esser, by all means go ahead. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just how I like to work, is I like to deal with them beforehand and deal with it at the source. That way now I can go on and compress my vocal, throw on a compressor, and these S's won't be made more prominent by further compression down the line. That's my point. And it does sound more natural, and you're not pulling down any frequencies other than the sibilance. So it helps to target it. The thing is that you would be working on your vocal anyway and balancing this all out, because as you can see, this part here is way lower than the most of the vocal here, and so you could even cut that. Oh, try again. And you could even bring that down, trying to balance this out even before we go to a compressor, where you're trying to balance this with the rest of the vocal. Maybe this was the start and the vocalist was just getting into it. Maybe this would be a part of the chorus where they would lean into the mic maybe, or sing louder, because there'd be more instrumentation going on. And we can just manually balance our vocal, manually balance our sibilance. This is how I would like to work before I would start adding any EQ or any compression. So before it hits a compressor of any kind, inboard or outboard, we have a balanced vocal, and the compressor isn't having to do as much, and therefore we end up with a more natural tone of the voice. And if we're adding compression thereon, it's not really being used to control levels, but more for coloration if we wanted to go down that route, like an LA2A or something like that, or a Fairchild, where we're just wanting the color of the compressor to add a little bit of meat onto the vocal. So I hope that helps, and I hope I didn't annoy your ears too much replaying the same bit of vocal over and over again. I do apologize for that, but it's the nature of trying to show de-essing. So I hope that was useful. I hope you will try all these methods and maybe find which one works for you. As I say, if you just want to use a de-esser, by all means go ahead. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you want to spend the time and the dedication, because the vocal is the most significant part of any mix, after all, it's what we all listen to, it's what we all sing along to, and it has to be perfect. And I just think spending the time on balancing out your vocal before you do any work on it whatsoever, and manually seeking out any sibilants and bringing that down -5 to -6 dB and chopping this all up, it still leaves the vocal free for me to now add any automation to the volume later on down the line, which I will do, because you want to push a little word through here, or you want to push it on the chorus a little bit for more dynamics, because as you know, these days we throw compressors on everything and we just kill the dynamics of our song, and then at the end of all our processing we're sitting there automating all that dynamics back in again, and it's somewhat counterproductive. So I hope again that you found this useful. Do try some of these methods. Let me know what your favourite method is, or your favourite de-esser is. There's loads of them out there, some better than others. And I hope you'll join me again in the next video. So happy mixing. Thanks for joining me. Thank you.